As I watch this segment intro, and I'm looking at all of these various images and videos, I just can't help but think about all of the lies that have been presented as justification for the intentional loss of millions of American lives. The sacrifice of millions of young white American men. Why did we send these young American men to go fight in those wars and make the ultimate sacrifice? Well, weapons of mass destruction. And there it is, COVID-19, the October 7th attacks, and in the aftermath of any one of these major events, something like the JFK assassination or 9/11, the Charlie Kirk assassination, for instance, there are various stages that society goes through as far as the narrative is concerned. You could almost compare it to the stages of grief, I guess. But in this case, it's the stages of narrative construction and narrative acceptance. Immediately after an event like one of these, you get the first dump of information and stories and explanation, and that's when the narrative construction phase begins. You get a bunch of talking heads and government types getting in front of all of these cameras and telling you that within moments of the crime occurring or the suspect being apprehended, they knew everything that there was to know about that situation. They've got it all under control. And during that period of time, a lot of people will, of course, come up with their own independent theories or look through other people's theories online because they don't believe their government. And that period usually lasts for several days, maybe a week or so, as the finalized version of the official narrative gets ironed out and as certain aspects of reality that may contradict that narrative are just erased from history and memory hold. And then starts the stage of narrative acceptance, which could also be translated into narrative enforcement. People are told that the official narrative is airtight. It's a 6,000,000% matter of historical and scientific and even religious fact. And if you question it, you're a crackpot, maybe even a threat to public safety. And that's when our occupied, illegitimate, pedophilic government tells us they've got it all figured out. Stop asking questions. Let the professionals handle this. Jeffrey Epstein. Go back to your cubicle, goy. That's basically what they're telling you. And unfortunately, most people fall for that. But I don't. And I know that most of you in the audience don't either. And that's why I have continued looking into the truth behind this Charlie Kirk assassination, because I know that the narrative of Tyler Robinson climbing up onto that rooftop and shooting Charlie Kirk in the throat with a .30-06, along with everything else we're told happened before, during, and after that, is completely and totally fake and gay. And we've been through all of the ways that the Tyler Robinson narrative is fake. And we've already proven that beyond a reasonable doubt. And so now I'm going to show you what actually happened, step by step. I went live last night. I went over all of this. If you haven't seen the clip yet, here it is. Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk's Israeli security detail killed Charlie Kirk, and Charlie Kirk's assassin is caught on tape. Blake Bednar has brought us this video. We'll break it down. Take a look at this. Here it is from the wide angle. Watch Charlie Kirk's right side of his t-shirt. Watch the lavalier lapel mic. Do you see it explode? Let's bring it in just a little bit closer. Watch this. Put it in a freeze frame. That is the explosion from Charlie Kirk's lavalier lapel mic. Want to see it again? Bring it in closer. Remember when we told you that that was absolutely an exit wound? Yeah, it is. Check the trajectory of the round that was deployed from that lavalier lapel mic. That went directly from Charlie Kirk's lapel. That went directly from underneath Charlie Kirk's white t-shirt up through his neck and created the exit wound that we told you was an exit wound immediately when we saw that exit wound. First we had exploding pagers. Now we have exploding mics. Do you remember the vector analysis from John Bray? That proves that all of the activity came from the mic that Charlie Kirk was wearing. Remember the palm gun guy in the brown shirt, that shadowy looking guy with the sunglasses? Yeah, he pushes the detonator. Clear as day.
Counting gang violence. Great.
That's the assassin. That's the guy that pushes the detonator, which perfectly aligns with the explosion that pushes that projectile through Charlie's right side of his neck and out the left side, creating the exit wound. That might just look like the chaos that you would expect after someone was publicly executed in broad daylight in front of 3,000 people. But in no way did that trigger man, that assassin in the brown shirt with the sunglasses, act alone. We have video now from Destiny that shows the handoff of this remote detonator. We had John Cullen on the program last week, and he made a great point about ballistic acoustics being altered to hide the location of the real shooter. Well, the same can be said to distract from the fact that there was no shooter. Tyler Robinson did not kill Charlie Kirk. This guy, brown shirt guy, he's the assassin.
Oh, way.
If you want security, the Israelis know what they're doing.
There it is. There it is, right there on video for the entire world to see. The truth hidden in plain sight. Just like so many of these other assassinations and terror attacks of the past 80 years. And you know what else this situation has in common with these other assassinations and so-called terror attacks? The perpetrators. Charlie Kirk was assassinated by the very same group of demons that killed JFK and carried out 9/11 and did so much more in between and since, the illegitimate homosexual pedophilic nation-state of Israel. Israel just assassinated, just murdered, executed an American citizen in broad daylight on video in front of a live audience of thousands of college students. And now our own fake and gay government is finishing the job for them by covering it up. Just like they always do, every single time. It's obvious what happened here. Israel killed Charlie Kirk with an exploding microphone, just like they killed a bunch of Arabs with exploding pagers. And just like with JFK, just like with 9/11, they're relying on all of us trusting and believing our government and the Jews on the news to get away with it. Ryan Matta has been looking into this quite possibly more than anyone else. He's got video after video after video searching for the truth behind the Charlie Kirk assassination, and he joins us now. Ryan, you've just seen what I've shown you. Your take.
So everything that we went... Oh, thanks for having me on, Stu. Greatly appreciate being here, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for giving me the mic and the opportunity to come on here, because I've been probably more relentless about staying on top of this story than anyone. We've accumulated over 155 million views over on X over in the last 14 days. So our reporting has been consistent. I've went down every rabbit hole, every conspiracy theory. And everything that the media's narrative and the FBI's narrative that they were trying to tell us wasn't adding up from the very beginning. I mean, me and you got into a pretty heated debate here last time about whether he had a bulletproof vest on or he didn't have a bulletproof vest on. And you were adamant that he wasn't. And I was pretty adamant that my sources were telling me that he did. And then come to find out, Erica Trump comes out and tells us, you know, was it 6 or 7 days ago, maybe 5 days ago, that he wasn't wearing a vest. And then we thought that the piece that was getting blown off of his ear was his actual earpiece. And I think that's a really important fact to make there. It wasn't his earpiece. She admitted it. That was his necklace. And it was his wife that was hanging and holding on to his bloody necklace out of the window of the car. Now, if you're getting hit from a bullet in the front, how does a necklace, you know, like I got a necklace on right here. How does this get blown off from the front so it snaps and then you see it fly over my ears? You're watching that necklace fly backwards over his ear. It would have had to, something would have had to detonate under his shirt, separate that chain for that chain to go flying backwards over his ear. That didn't make sense. At first, we thought it was an earpiece. We thought maybe, well, when it hit his spine, I thought maybe that the bullet came out of the back of his spine, because you've seen this thing kind of protrude out of the back of his neck. And I thought, okay, well, maybe the impact of the bullet didn't go through his neck, but kind of, you know, just like a quick little jerk, and it somehow snapped the chain, but I couldn't figure out how it would snap it in the front. It didn't make sense how that chain was flying over. Then this video comes out. Then we talk about Tyler being on the roof. We had definitive evidence thanks because of Blake Bednarz. And again, Blake coming up with this story, the way that he acquired this footage was absolutely
How did he acquire this footage, by the way?
Well, we'll go into that right next. Let me finish this last point, right? So we had Tyler running across the roof. We had clear proof that within 3 seconds of that shot being fired, based off of the video that was taken inside the cafeteria, where you can see Tyler running across the roof, and then you go outside and you watch the people sit down and you see the crowd crouching down. And it's exactly 3 seconds from the time that shots fired to the crowd looking around going, oh crap, we need to duck. We need to get down. And at that point, they're getting down. Tyler, or the man on the roof, allegedly is in a full sprint with the long rifle. So somehow Tyler, this kid, runs up onto this roof. Now that we know, because of Candace's reporting, that the guy was only on the roof for 2 minutes at best. At 1:22, when that video was taken and those kids seen him in the prone position, he was already up in that roof. That video was at 12:22. He was jumping off the roof at 12:23 in about 50 seconds. So in that period of time, he runs up, gets into position, takes the shot, and then from the time he takes the shot, he's magically sprinting off the roof in less than 3 seconds. He's in a full sprint with the rifle in hand in less than 3 seconds. None of it added up. How did he take that shot? How was he so accurate? How did he control his breathing, get into position in under a minute, and take that shot on Charlie?
He didn't.
He didn't, right? So then we come to this video, and now it all starts to make sense. We've went down every rabbit hole. I've looked at everything. This was the one video, because it was so blurry that we couldn't tell. There was no definitive proof whether that thing blew up his neck or was shot into his neck, because you see the trajectory, and all the videos that we had before, it just kind of disappears. And I was like, somebody has to have that video. I want the turning point video from right there in front of Charlie Kirk. I want that one main camera that's right there in front of him. And I want to see, where does this black little clip go? It just kind of disappeared after it went kind of like it was going right towards the hole in his neck. And then all of a sudden it just vanished. So then Blake goes, and Blake is looking in the crowd. Blake's the one who went through all 60 hours of that live stream after the fact. Remember that guy went around the campus for an hour and just interviewed people? Yeah. In that live stream, Blake catches a frame where it looks like somebody's on the outer railing and they have a really nice, like, high-end camera. So he looks at that camera and he goes, oh, that looks like a college student with a really expensive camera. Like, I assume that he probably worked for the campus newspaper, or I'm not sure where he got that camera from. Maybe worked at Turning Point USA, but then he narrowed it down. It wasn't a Turning Point USA employee. So he started going through the crowd and trying to contact students at the school, because he was contacting everybody. And one student goes, oh, hey, I have that guy's contact information. Blake reaches out to him and offers him to buy that footage from him. So nobody had ever seen that nice 4K crispy image of, his guy was pretty far back, but he's using a really nice high-end camera. So when we go and you slow that down frame by frame, for the first time, you're actually able to see, as something detonates under Charlie's shirt. That was what me and you were debating. There's
just no question at all whatsoever that you see an incendiary explosion. You see the incendiary smoke. There's no question. You can't deny it. And then you see the exit wound, which is what was so profusely bleeding. And originally I said, that's an exit wound.
And, every sniper, every person that was saying that he was wearing a bulletproof vest, and there was a lot of people that went through that video and they go, he is 100% wearing a bulletproof vest because his body reacts before the hole, right? Something caused his body to basically almost go into shock. And then all of a sudden it's like a half a millisecond later, you see the hole in his neck. Everybody was thinking that he got hit in the bulletproof vest. That's what caused him to recoil like that. And then it ricocheted up into the neck. That's what we were thinking. But then his wife comes out and says, nope, 100%. I begged Charlie to wear a vest. He told me that he trusted his security team.
I don't know. Let's talk about the behavior of the security team afterwards, because there's a lot of people saying, well, he was just throwing the keys. That's what he was doing. He was grabbing the keys. He was handing off the keys to the SUV so they could get Charlie. No, the driver has the keys. Why would the guy over there have the keys? Look at the body language of the guy that actually pushed this remote detonator. He wasn't surprised. He didn't act like a regular human being and duck or, act surprised or shocked. He didn't recoil or jerk in any way at all whatsoever when he heard that explosion. Why? Well, because he was anticipating it. Because he was delivering that blow. That's the only explanation. And these guys didn't act alone. You saw in tandem at the same time, simultaneously, what do these guys do? They don't jump over in a state of panic and check to see if Charlie Kirk is okay. Instead, they go for his lavalier mic. It looked like a gang of niggers, like mugging a guy who's dying on the street. Nigga, get that chain, get that lavalier microphone. I need that for the studio. We could use that for my podcast. No, that's not how people behave. They literally were mugging Charlie. One guy pushed him down. Okay, people are saying, look, he actually pushed him down. Well, I can see a security detail or Secret Service pushing down, the principal that they're protecting to get them out of the way of more rounds, more gunfire, anything else that might be coming that they're unaware of. That's your job. Your job is to push them down and lay on top of them, until you can extract them. These people didn't act surprised at all. They acted like they had a plan. They knew exactly what they needed to do. They went for the lavalier microphone or whatever was left of it. They handed it off to each other. They handed off the remote detonator, and then they walked away. and ran away. Some of them walked, some of them ran. They left Charlie Kirk there. They had completed their job. They had completed their task. They had fulfilled what they were there for. And Charlie Kirk was dead.
They came in after the fact and stole all the evidence. They came in, his team, Turning Point USA employees came in and they, what do you call it? Disturbed a crime scene.
Contaminated, yeah.
Yeah, contaminated a crime scene. They went in, they removed the memory cards directly from the cameras, and they started disassembling the cameras. And at first, I go, you know what? With this FBI, if I was the cameraman and I was the guy back there, I would have been there. I would have done the same thing. And then I was in the space kind of saying the exact same thing. Like, hey, think about this. If you're Charlie Kirk's boy and you're his videographer and you're filming him, and my cameras are behind Charlie Kirk, and I happen to catch this shot, and I think in my head, okay, something's not right here. This is probably Mossad. There's some inside job. I want to make sure that I save my footage. And I said that in my stream last night, and Ian Carroll goes, yeah, but Ryan, you're the guy who would have uploaded it to the internet within minutes. And I go, yeah, you're right, 100%. If I would have taken those memory cards and got them out of there and got out clean, the first thing I would have did is I would have been uploading those to the internet for everybody to see. And then I would have went and turned them back into the FBI. That's exactly what I would have did.
You don't just turn over everything that you have and the only copy to the FBI that has proven that they're capable of doing nothing other than lying constantly. Nobody would do that. If you truly were trying to find out who killed Charlie Kirk, if you truly were looking for the truth, that would have been disseminated immediately on the internet.
100%.
Just like if somebody were to give me the Epstein files right now, the first thing I would do is upload them on every single social media platform that I have access to. I would upload them to stewpeters.com. I would put them on Rumble. I would put them on X. I would try to get a YouTube account. I'd try to get an Instagram account. I would put them everywhere. I would make sure that they got everywhere before they got to me. And Andrew Colvin and company don't seem too concerned about somebody getting to them. They should now. And if this brown shirt guy with the aviators on that was pushing that remote detonator isn't interviewed on video by the FBI, by Kash Patel, or whoever he assigns to this, if those people are not immediately interviewed and criminally implicated in what was happening here, if there's not a serious investigation into these people, if they're not arrested under the suspicion of, or because there's probable cause enough to arrest these people for being involved in some way, all of them, I mean, I don't know what to say. At this point, there are crimes, assassinations, public executions in broad daylight taking place in live audiences of 3,000 people. Who was that really on the rooftop? How do you prove that it was this lazy-eyed kid? There's nothing from his family other than his grandma who says, I've never seen Tyler with a gun before. You've never seen him with the gun that is supposedly owned by your husband, his grandfather? You've never seen him with a firearm during hunting season? He's never trained with a firearm? Whose grandfather, by the way, has a rifle, a 30-06 with a synthetic stock on it? Yeah, not a lot of them. Most of them are wood stocks. My grandfather has 30-06s. They're Winchesters. They're wood stocks. I mean, this guy didn't pull off that shot. If this country doesn't absolutely 1,000% rise up to push the FBI to actually look into this and do the right thing, I mean, we can expect to see a whole lot more of this. The FBI is just going to run around killing people. These security details, the Mossad, these Israeli agents are just going to run around killing people. They're going to get away with it. They've gotten away with it so far. If these people are not arrested or at least taken into custody and detained and interviewed or compelled to be interviewed or voluntarily surrender themselves or arrange an interview, I just don't know what else there is to say.
Yeah, and speaking of that, Kash Patel should recuse himself. It is FBI policy. He is not only just emotionally invested in Charlie Kirk, I believe he's also financially invested. And that is FBI policy. Kyle Seraphin clearly states this, that Kash Patel and Bongino should have came forward day one and said, you know what? We are heartbroken. We are also emotionally and financially invested in Charlie Kirk's company. So we have 100% faith in the new deputy director of the FBI. We are going to put all evidence into him, and me and Jan Bongino are going to completely step away from this case, and we are not going to touch it. That's FBI policy. It's almost like if you were to talk about this Tyler kid going to a courtroom.
In what capacity are Dan Bongino and Kash Patel investors at TPUSA?
I don't know financially, but I know emotionally. I mean, neither of them would have had their job if it wasn't for Turning Point. Cash, what Charlie Kirk did with the Only Cash campaign and the pressure that Turning Point put on, Kash Patel would never have had that position. He would have never got confirmed if it wasn't for the work that Charlie Kirk and Turning Point did. I mean, they had a whole campaign behind it. So they were definitely emotionally
And then they were
invested.
either in on taking him out or they're in on covering it up. Because if Blake Bednarz is able to get that footage, and we know the mini surveillance state that UVU is, There's cameras everywhere. As a matter of fact, it was you that showed us a bracket where a camera was supposed to be on a brand new constructed building. A newly constructed building. There it is. There's the hardware where the camera is supposed to be, likely shooting in what, 8K? You're the AV guy.
Yeah,
you know all about this stuff.
4K, at least 4K.
Shooting in at least 4K. You should be able to zoom. I can zoom in on my fucking iPhone to an airplane, and I can see what airline it is at 35,000 feet. Okay? From my iPhone. If you think that these cameras that are at UVU are incapable of delivering us crystal clear imagery from 200 yards away, from 143 yards away, where Tyler Robinson supposedly was,
Stu, we had
it's
good,
just
we had
absolutely
good
insane
CCTV
that people
footage.
are accepting the fact that the FBI has not released the footage prior to Tyler Robinson running. Where's the footage of him getting into position? Where's the footage of him taking the shot? Where's the footage of him breaking down that Mauser 30-06? Where's the footage of him stuffing the barrel in his pants and neatly packing the barrel and the stock and the receiver inside of, or excuse me, the scope and the stock and the receiver inside of the backpack before he goes running?
No, you're 100% right. We're missing all the CCTV footage. We don't have anything that the FBI, everything that the FBI has told us from the very, very beginning has been an absolute and complete lie. Kash Patel and the evidence that we have there, we have 2 cameras, not just one. I paid a source to go back to that university, and the CCTV video that they gave us from that back shot, there's a second camera. So we actually have 2 cameras that would have had Tyler in the prone position on that roof. And I went all the way back to 1999 or 98 when the Columbine shooting happened. You remember the Columbine shooting? I know you were probably
Yeah, of
old enough
course.
to remember that.
I was actually in a film. This is how I snuck my way into the governor's mansion. Okay. So Tyrell Ventura, which was Jesse Ventura's son, he was an aspiring filmmaker. And so he was casting a role for the lead role in a film, a short film called Generation Lost. And his mentor was Sean Penn. And so he was telling him, hey, you need to have short films under your belt. So Generation Lost was basically the recreation of that Columbine shooter and the trench coat mafia. Remember all of that? Well, I was the prom king. I was the guy that they abducted and they brought me into a basement. And at the end of the film, I end up getting shot with a shotgun and all this other stuff. Well, it was then at this casting thing that I was like, oh, I'm actually Jonathan Taylor Thomas's older brother. My name is Coleman Thomas. And, well, where are you staying while you're in town? Well, I don't really have any place to stay. Well, you can stay at the governor's mansion. That was the whole thing. I mean, I've talked about this a lot. People know that I'm very open about this. But anyway, the Columbine shooting, yes, I am very, very, very familiar because I actually played a role that was the recreation of that.
You know the CCTV footage then. We had better CCTV footage from the Columbine shooting in 1999 or 98. And then if you just go back recently and you just search on X and you search trans shooter, trans school shooter, you can see the Valdi shooter in Texas, I believe. And then you can also see the Nashville trans shooter. You see from the time they get on campus and when they walk in the door, what's crazy about these cameras is they can also pan left to right, Stu. So as the shooter's walking through the hallway, the camera's literally panning with them crystal clear, I don't know, 1080p, 4K, but it was crispy, it was clean. And that was 2 years ago. And these cameras were allegedly installed, according to their own manuals, in 2022 or 2024, depending on what campus you're looking at. So we know that they have state-of-the-art cameras. They're Arlington cameras, according to our source, according to their own documents, they're Arlington cameras. And I interviewed a source who does this at universities. And he said that he has a university in his contract right now where he installed 300 cameras for 5,700 students. This university had 45,000 students. So you could estimate a range of 1,500 to, 2,500 cameras minimum. And then I go, everybody goes, well, they could never back that up. It would take, 76 terabytes of storage to back all that up. And this guy goes, actually, they're wrong. When you purchase a package from a company at that scale, he goes, we give you so much compute power that you can literally pull up 100 cameras and look at 100 different angles all at one time. And then we also give you enough storage data to back up all of that data for 1 year. So if that university was doing it for 1 year, you assume almost all universities are doing it for 1 year. So that means not only do we have that footage, but we also have allegedly somebody that was on campus on that rooftop in that area scouting it out roughly 2 weeks prior to this. So when you talk about this remote detonating going off on his device, on his chest, you had Tyler, which was the man on the roof, which is another decoy if he obviously didn't have a gun or have a weapon or change his clothes or break down the weapon. And then you also have the George Zinn, Mr. 1 in 2 billion, the man in the crowd who was also at 9/11, who was also at the Boston Marathon bombing.
Boston Marathon, yeah. I mean,
so none of this adds up as to the trans shooter narrative. And then I broke the story when somebody sent me the video of Tyler Robinson at a traffic stop getting pulled over, and that was 3 years ago in 2022. And the dude sounds like a redneck hillbilly hick that'd be at a Jason Aldean concert, smoking a pack of Marlboro Reds, drinking some Budweisers with his buddy playing beer pong in the parking lot. He was with a boy in a Led Zeppelin t-shirt, and they both sounded like Hicks. So yeah.
I love Morgan Wallen and Warren Zeiders. Do I talk like that? Come on, that is so racist.
He does. That's for
sure. Do you
sure.
see any holes in basically the story that I took what Blake Bednar's had, I took what Destiny had, I took what John Cullen said about the acoustics, ballistics, I took that heat map or whatever that thing was, and that even confirms that it all came from that mic. You see it turn red. I mean, you see all of the evidence in the world points to this being correct. What holes do you see in this? Because that's what I want to do. I want to scrutinize this as if I'm totally wrong.
Normally I've been reading my comments, and normally within a few minutes, every time I've put out something that wasn't accurate, within a few minutes, there's somebody in those comments that's just tearing this apart. It's been seen by over 1 million people, at least just on my tweet, not including the rest of the people that shared this all across the internet. I have not found one person that can disprove that. The only attacks they were saying was that wasn't real. You edited the footage. Excuse me. So then Blake literally uploaded the entire raw, like 10 or 11 minute video, so everybody can see it for themselves. You can zoom in on it yourself. And then he went a step further and goes, well, the quality wasn't the greatest on the X upload. Let me also upload it to YouTube for you. So it's now on X and it's now on YouTube. And if you think there's any holes in this theory, we want to hear them. So please go break them down, screen record it, put it in the comments of my post, and I'll come back here on Stu's and we'll present them. We're not trying to push a narrative or try to convince you.
That guy was the assassin. That's my narrative, because that's the truth. And you can see it. It's all on video. There's really nothing to argue. This was an assassination that was caught on video. Who exactly did what in the planning stages of all of this? Who did what in the immediate aftermath, after they disappear up from behind the tent, after they've handed off the lapel mic and the remote detonator, after they've mugged Charlie Kirk's dead body that they're just leaving there? This is his security detail. This is his security detail. Is that what a security detail does when their principal is down with a gunshot wound that was inflicted in an unexpected manner? No, that's not how they react. They don't leave the principal there to bleed out and die. That's not what happens. And the lack of an ambulance being right there backed up where you can see all those vehicles, those SUVs that are backed up right there. Why is there no ambulance there? At minimum, you have them there in case something happens in the crowd, in case there's a fight or an assault. You have them there in case somebody passes out from dehydration, or if they haven't had enough electrolytes, or the heat is just too much for them to withstand, or they're nauseous because they're claustrophobic and there's so many people around. You always have an ambulance at big events. UVU would have to have an ambulance there just for insurance liability purposes. Why didn't you have an ambulance here?
It's by law.
And why wouldn't they put a guy who's bleeding out into an ambulance that has the necessary equipment and medications to restart his heart, to stop the bleeding, to give him the fluids that he needs? Why wouldn't they do that? Why would there not be an ambulance there? Now, in the absence of an ambulance, I would say, if you, Ryan, if you were there and you were dying in front of me and there's no ambulance around and there's no cops, there was no cops. Where was the huge police presence? There's like a few plainclothes detectives meandering around. Where is the yellow crime scene? Stop here. Do not enter tape. Where's the chain of custody? Why didn't they lock that place down? How is this TPUSA guy allowed to then go in and take the SD card out that caught this entire thing? How is he allowed to do that and contaminate a crime scene, and then UVU later reports that that camera is stolen? How is this possible? It's not. Because Tyler Robinson didn't shoot Charlie Kirk in an unexpected fashion. This was planned. This was internal. This was carried out. Now the question is, how far up the ladder does this go? Was Donald Trump involved with this? I mean, after all, he's the one that introduced Charlie to Erica. He's the one who procured Erica for his Miss USA pageants personally. Charlie Kirk met Erica on a pilgrimage to Israel. Charlie Kirk said, my entire security team is Israeli. If you want good security, go to the Israelis. I just really don't see any holes in this. But please, if you see any, hit up Ryan or email me, stu@stupeters.com. I'd love to hear your theories. But as far as I'm concerned, and from now on, wherever I go, I'm going to be checking out all of my mics. I'm double checking everything wherever I go. These people will probably find out some trumped up reason to put me on, like hem me up and take me away, deal with me, do whatever. But Kash Patel doesn't know me, thank God. Maybe he could come on the program for the very first time and talk about all of this. Ryan, I know you got traveling that you got to do. Thank you so much for being here and for all of your work on this. Seriously, you have been doing a tremendous amount of work on this. And yes, although be it we've had our disagreements about body armor and what else, we're men that we come together and we can have these conversations. We both have the same motive, which is who killed this guy? What's the serious problem that we have in our country? Because this is systemic. This is going to continue. They're going to continue to pick people off. And that's why you see a bunch of people, hey, I'm going to go a little bit easy on this. It's like anti-Semitism light, and I love what Dan Bilzerian said. He said, this low IQ anti-Semitism, I've never heard of that. That doesn't exist. It's actually, in fact, quite the opposite. There's no such thing as low IQ anti-Semitism. These people, they're killing us in so many ways. And pointing that out, I think it's the only way forward. Putting the foot on the gas, putting the pedal to the floor. I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to slow down. I'm not going to change the message. Come for me if you will. And I think that that's your stance as well. So I appreciate you. And I just want you to know that. It takes a lot of balls. It takes a lot of balls. And you see people previously who have done this that now in the wake of Charlie Kirk's death, you see them like easing off. And whether that's because they were paid or blackmailed or offered a deal or because they're just downright scared, it's happening. And you see it happening. Alex Jones and Nick Fuentes just got YouTube channels back. I mean, Nick Fuentes just went on Patrick Bet David and talked about how brilliant Jews are. That's a switch. That's a 180. And to not notice that, that's weird. And to notice it and not say something about it, that's even more weird.
Oh, he got.
So I don't know what's going on there.
I don't know if you heard it. I got called out in the show by name because I made a post and roasted him, said that Nick Fuentes is going to be hosting the Daily Wire next week. And I put a video of him talking about something that Shapiro said or something like that. And he came out
I don't know what's
me.
going on there. I have no idea what's going on there, but it's not normal. It's not organic. It's not just a change of heart that automatically you have when you can objectively look at everything that this nation state has done to us and the precarious predicaments and the downright detriment that this country, this nation state, that these people, this group of people who's been kicked out of 109 countries 1,034 times is bringing to our front door in every aspect of our lives. In our Department of Education, in big pharmaceuticals, with our usurious economic system of fiat currency and high interest promissory notes to the Federal Reserve, transgenderism, pornography. When you look at everything that the Jew brings to our front door, and you've been talking about these things, and then all of a sudden you just say, yep, never mind. Actually, they're brilliant. And actually, where the Jew is, it's safer. Really? We have more of a Muslim problem than we do a Jew problem. Is that right? We wouldn't have a Muslim problem if it weren't for the Jew. We wouldn't have a homosexual problem if it weren't for the Jew. We wouldn't have a Negro problem if it weren't for the Jew. They brought all of these problems to our front doors. We've been over this time and time again. So there's definitely something going on there. I'm not making any accusations because I don't have any proof about him being paid off or bribed. I did hear something, though, that Grok said that he took like $2.3 million. I'm not going to buy into that yet. I would have to see some like real proof, but there is something going on. There's definitely something going on. And if you say there's not, that's actually insane. I mean, just be honest. Just be honest. You can't sugarcoat stuff like this. You can't let your emotions and your hopes get in the way. You have to be able to objectively look at what is the historical precedent, what's occurring now, there's a change, what caused it. Just like with this shooting, don't get all emotional, just look at the facts. I don't want to believe that somebody inside of Charlie Kirk's detail took him out. But I'm looking at the video and somebody on Charlie Kirk's security detail took him out. Those people need to be apprehended. They need to turn themselves in or otherwise be compelled to give, interrogation statements to the feds. And it needs to be videotaped.
And let's go
it needs to
further.
be publicly released.
Let's go talk about the surgeon. I think that the surgeon needs to be interviewed. So where's this medical report? Where's the coroner report? Were they involved in it? Because it doesn't.
Yeah. You're talking about the surgeon that violated every HIPAA law known to man to tell the Jew, Andrew Colvett, about how Charlie Kirk had a Superman-esque frame of steel, that in his last moments he saved everyone from death that was standing behind him, and he saved everyone around him from the unnecessary inconvenience of blood splatter on their wardrobe. Give me a fucking break. Yeah, he needs to be interrogated as well. Good point. All right, I know you got to go. Ryan Matta, thank you so much for being here. God bless you.
God bless you, brother. Thanks for having me.
More of the Stu Peters Show continues right after this. We've got the Based Report. Don't go anywhere.
If you currently have money in the bank, a 401k, or even precious metals in an IRA, you may want to listen up. You're going to want to have a place where you have a guarantee on your funds. As we go into a lower interest rate environment, banks will be stressed out when the commercial real estate crisis happens. Right now, you can get a guarantee, yes, a guarantee on your principal, and get a 29% bonus. If you're younger than 65 years of age, we can utilize an insurance-based contract that has been around for over 100 years. And guess what? You get a guarantee on your funds. You get a guarantee on your principal. We want to help you find a guarantee on your funds that are actually outside of banking laws, outside of securities laws. Right now, as interest rates are getting lowered, we only have this special running to November 1st. Go to greenmoneysolutions.com, fill out your information, and let's just see if you qualify.
Don't let the IRS rob you. Where is your money going? Over 4 million government credit cards by federal employees were used to make 90 million transactions with no accountability. DOJ has found $4.7 trillion in federal spending that is untraceable or fraudulent. You work hard to pay your bills, and a significant portion of your money is funneled to thieves and fraudsters through the taxes you pay to the IRS. The IRS wants you to feel powerless. Be a slave that shuts up and give them your hard-earned money. But there is a way out of this slavery. Freedom Law School has been teaching Americans for over 30 years that no law requires 99% of Americans to file and pay income tax. None of their students who have stopped paying have gone to prison or had their bank account or property stolen by the IRS. Go to freedomlawschool.org today to take 7 steps to freedom from IRS deception, robbery, and slavery. For freedom, go to freedomlawschool.org today.
Welcome to the Base Report with Frankie Stocks here on the Stu Peters Network. Frankie Stocks coming to you live from here in Washington, D.C. Frankie Stocks here reporting for the Stu Peters Network in Washington, D.C., where we are undercover doing a little bit of reconnaissance. This is what the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society wants to take away from you. Welcome to the Base Report with Frankie Stocks here.
Frankie Stocks has been paying close attention to all of this for us. He joins us now to share more.
Your top 3 stories in 3 minutes from your Base reporter, Frankie Stocks. This is the Base Report.
You're seeing the same video that I'm seeing. You're seeing the same irrefutable, broad daylight video evidence that I'm looking at. I've received 110 text messages from acquaintances of mine. I'm sure it'll be 6 million by the time this is all said and done. Stu, I'm seeing the video that you did. It's proliferating across the internet. Are you sure about this theory? Are you sure? I'm not going to disallow my eyes from seeing what they're seeing objectively. I'm not going to allow the propaganda from the empire of lies that they're trying to browbeat us into believing this lone wolf, Tyler Robinson story. I'm not going to believe that. And I've seen the other 271,000 theories online. I've seen them all. This is irrefutable, physical, broad daylight video evidence. And I'm just not going to allow myself to reject what my eyes are seeing. It's time for the Base Report. Frankie Stocks is here. I mean, do you agree? This seems to be pretty cut and clear.
Yeah, well, from the very beginning, it's been totally unexplained until you posted that video. Why did this guy supposedly get shot in the neck on the left side, but then the right side of his shirt inflates as if something explodes underneath it? And so I'm watching your video, and it's now been viewed millions upon millions of times over on X. It's like going up every time I look at it. It's super viral, but I'm watching that video, and it's like, this perfectly explains, oh, that's why his shirt blew up, because there was some guy pressing a detonator and exploding a microphone bomb beneath him. I mean, when they can blow off the penises of guys in Lebanon with pagers, why can't they blow off Charlie Kirk's neck with an explosive device in his microphone? And he was 100% wearing a microphone underneath that shirt. You can see it outlined where it zooms in the video. So that's there, and it blows up. I mean, put 2 and 2 together.
And that's just standard, by the way. I know that when I was in Idaho campaigning for Janice McGeehan, or when I was in Las Vegas at the Reawaken America tour, the one time that I allowed myself to go to one of these things, I had to hug Judy Mikovits. That's why I went there. But you wear a lavalier so that your film crew can clearly hear what it is that you're saying, so that you can have video of your appearance rather than just the echoing of the mic that you're holding in your hand, which is projecting out over the audience. So that's just standard. TPUSA wanted to have very clearly what Charlie Kirk was saying for their, live stream, or for clips, for later on, referencing some of this video on the Charlie Kirk show. And then, of course, they have the handheld microphone to address the 3,000 people that are there at UVU in front of him, or whatever venue that he was at any time. That's just standard procedure. What's not standard, obviously, is to hire a completely and totally Israeli security detail. I don't know, maybe I'll need some security now after all of this. You're right, it's been propagated across the internet, and now millions and millions of people have seen this. And I'm sure that there's some people in some key positions that are not going to like the fact that this is now publicly available and that it's being disseminated and allowed to proliferate. I mean, this is going to be, I don't know. My security is the blood of Jesus Christ. My security is the armor of God that I wake up and put on every single day. All right, 3 minutes is on the clock. The Base Report begins right now.
All right, thanks, Stu. We're going to start things off with a story that just broke today out of the Pentagon, where Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, he wants us to call him the Secretary of War. He has called a meeting of hundreds of U.S. generals. He's calling them in from all over the world. They're going to meet at the Quantico base in Virginia. The reason behind this meeting has not been disclosed. Even the military brass are telling the media, which they have very friendly relationships with and who they love to telegraph their next steps to all the time, but they're telling the media, we have absolutely no idea why we've been summoned back to the United States. This is a secretive meeting, and Pete Hegseth is calling in hundreds of American generals and their entire staffs, including enlisted members of their staffs, for this meeting. This is coinciding with stories that we've extensively covered here on the Base Report and that you've covered here on the Stu Peters Show, as America's on the precipice of war all over the world. We're looking at Eastern Europe, we're looking at the Middle East, we're looking at Latin America. America all over this entire planet is moving toward war, and now Pete Hegseth is bringing in our generals, our top military officers who are in charge of thousands upon thousands upon thousands of U.S. troops who are deployed all over the world, really just waiting to be given the word to go to war. And now we're going to learn in the coming days when are they going to get that word? Well, we may see them get that word very, very soon. I find it hard to believe that he's bringing all of these guys in for a luncheon or to tell them he appreciates their service. Now, moving on here, kind of staying in this same foreign policy type of lane, in Israel, the Netanyahu government is now threatening to expel the consulates of every single country that recognizes Palestine. They're leading the way, they say, with England and France, but they're going to end up having to sever all diplomatic ties if they follow through with this. With over 140 nations on planet Earth, they're going to end up having friendly relationships or normalized relationships with less countries than North Korea does. So Israel, they think that this is some kind of big win. They're little cheerleaders in the United States, especially on social media, all the so-called conservatives. They think that this is some kind of great win. Israel is just further isolating itself from the rest of the world. Israel is just further turning itself into a pariah state that nobody's going to want anything to do with, because if you dare question these people, you're going to throw them out of the country. And real bonus chapter to this story here, Netanyahu and the Israelis are freaking out because an episode of South Park where they had a clip of the Jewish character's mom going in and yelling at Benjamin Netanyahu and telling him how bad she was. So they're having a total meltdown. And now not just do they want to ban England and France and all of these other countries from Israel, they want to ban the TV show of South Park from Israel, because these people are so on the run. They're so terrified of anyone saying anything that goes against their narrative here.
That's Stewie. He's so based, isn't he? Yeah, based Stewie. Yeah. Yeah, it's just unbelievable. And then I saw pictures of this Yair Netanyahu, which is Benjamin Milkowski's son, I guess, you know, with the frame of a prepubescent twink running around poolside in Miami. Like, what are you doing in Miami running around poolside? Isn't your country like on the verge of another Holocaust and complete annihilation and total destruction? Why aren't you going over there and fighting the big, bad, mean towel heads? You know, these Muslims that are just like raping all of your women. You're the prime minister's son. Why aren't you there in Israel working with your military's top brass yourself? Why are you getting drunk poolside in Miami? You know, what are you going to do? The Fresh and Fit podcast? I mean, these e-celebrity world leaders like, you know, Volodymyr Zelensky that come into our congressional floor. They all have their outfits, their little play actor roles and staged uniforms. And they come with this little green t-shirt that he wears constantly, like he's olive drab, like he's a real wartime guy. He's a homosexual that slaps dudes in the ass while he wears leather chaps and plays the piano with his penis. He's a faggot. You know, and then they position these people as these big tough guys. And Yair Netanyahu, he's no different. He's a big tough talking homosexual on the internet. And then he's just a complete flaming faggot poolside in Miami. These people are all actors. Go ahead.
Yeah, he is. And while he's being a complete faggot by the pool in Miami, he's getting on the internet and telling the American people, if you don't support my daddy's war, AOC is going to become president. It's just absolutely ridiculous. This guy's not willing to
She's
even go
another
anywhere
actress,
near.
actually.
Yes.
I mean, where did she come from? She's in New York working at some bar, you know, showing her cleavage for tip money and serving up cocktails. And the next thing you know, she's one of the most prolific, most well-known congressmen in all of history, with a war chest that rivals like Nancy Pelosi, arguing about nothing, doing like, you know, selfie, I don't know, cap cut recorded videos. And then who's that other chick, that Valentina, whatever her name
Valentina
is?
Gomez, she wants to be the next new APAC candidate. She's a foreigner. She's from
Can you
Colombia.
believe her? I mean, this is like literally, just go to Valentina Gomez's X account. You'll vomit. The theatrics and, you know, just the cheap C-level B-movie type Hollywood-esque presentation, this I'm a tough bitch, you know, and her guns and her shooting, and she's got like all of these like little electrodes that go around her and lightning flashes, and she's got laser eyes, and it's just the most ridiculous fucking, this is American politics. This is politics in America today. These actors and actresses, these WWE pyrotechnics, like you're seeing this at the memorial for Charlie Kirk, these pyrotechnics as Erica Kirk makes her grand entrance to, you know, like body slam Vince McMahon or something. I mean, it's just fucking ridiculous. And speaking of this incendiary device, I want to address this because a lot of people are saying, well, why wouldn't it have just exploded and left like black marks? And why wouldn't he have blood here? And why wouldn't have his whole throat? I don't know the answer to any of that. Here's what I see. I see the incendiary explosion because you can see the smoke when you look frame by frame. Whatever that was the weapon. The weapon is there on his shirt and you can see it. It doesn't just do that on its own. It wasn't like holographically imposed. It wasn't fake. Frame by frame, slow it down. You can see it. It's like the smoke that would come out of the barrel of a gun, out of the muzzle of a firearm. That's what you're seeing right there. And so absolutely they have this technology. If they have these suicide drones and they have these exploding pagers, I don't know if there's like a little small caliber projectile, maybe a 380 round inside of there or something, you know, and that's what shot him. And that's what created the exit wound. And the exit wound that we called right away, that's what you're seeing bleed. I don't know what exactly it is. I didn't design it. I didn't attach it. I didn't detonate it. I didn't kill Charlie Kirk. I wasn't one of these people that was there that was expecting it, like the guy in the brown shirt who absolutely was expecting it. Did you see the behavior of these people?
Yeah, and when you slow the video down, speaking of his neck, you certainly see on that left side where they told us he was shot, you see something go like his internal part of his throat blow out of the side. It's definitely coming out of that side. But yeah, there's that guy in the little tiny hat standing there. Everybody's ducking for cover, and this guy's got a phone and he doesn't even flinch. He's just sitting there the whole time, perfectly still, documenting all of this.
And then these guys, they don't like duck, they don't run to assist Charlie Kirk. They simultaneously, at the same time, the guys that are doing these handoffs of the lavalier lapel mic and of the detonating device, and then you got the guy coming in to get the SD card. You know, all of that was like predetermined. We've got to act, and we've got to act right now, not to save Charlie Kirk's life, but to get this evidence, to pass this on, to make sure that it gets out of here before it's cataloged as evidence, before the cops get here, before anybody sees us, if the cops were in on it. And I'm not saying like every cop was in on this. I don't know if this was like a staged event that was supposed to go differently and it ended up going badly. I don't know, but these people absolutely expected something like this to happen. They expected that device to do what it did, and then they acted accordingly. And they both simultaneously jump over the barricades, and they go there not to render aid to a bleeding and dying Charlie Kirk, but to rip him off, you know, like to mug him, to go through his body and take all of his gold chains and his rings. And don't forget about that lavalier mic. I need that for my hip hop studio. You know, I mean, like, I got a podcast I'm going to do. I need that equipment. Like they literally take what's left of this lavalier off of him and exchange it. And then the guy with what appears to be the detonator or whatever on his sleeve, whatever he was doing that perfectly aligned with the report from that incendiary device doing whatever it did. They're exchanging these things. Some of them are walking away. Some of them are running away, completely disregarding the fact that the guy that hired you to protect him is lying there dying. Like, what? So yeah, don't ask me about my theory Are you sure about this one? Well, did you watch the damn video? Yeah, I can't believe my eyes. I mean, sadly, I kind of can. Honestly, I can believe this is not out of the realm of possibility, which is another thing. I don't know why people would be questioning. Do you really think that they would do that? Are you fucking kidding me? They are killing millions of people. Yeah. They're literally bombing children. They're raping them. They're selling them for their organs to be harvested. You know, they're selling them into sex slavery and trafficking. These are who these people are. This is what they do. It's what they know best. They know destruction and subjugation and death. That's what these people know. They're satanic. They're demonic. Do I think they're capable of this? Yes, absolutely. Why don't you? That's the real question. All right.
Yeah, 100%. This is the synagogue of Satan. And, you know, you see the orderly and very calculated fashion in which those guys are just referring to with the mic and the guy with the SD card taking down the camera. They all went in there in a very calculated fashion to do what they needed to do and then get themselves and the things that they took with them the hell out of sight and away from anyone who was running up there with a genuine curiosity as to what's going on. And speaking of how fake everything is, last story for the Based Report here, we talked a while ago about the fake deportation numbers that the Trump administration is giving us. They're trying to make us believe that they're executing these widespread mass deportations when it's a total hoax. So they ran these numbers past us a few weeks ago. Now they're doing it again. They've come out with an entirely fresh batch of stories as if these fake numbers are breaking news. They're claiming 400,000 deportations, which is nothing. A puny, teeny, tiny drop in the bucket in the 9 months that Trump has been in office, and 1.6 million self-deportations. So they're trying to tell us that 1.6 million illegals who know that nobody is coming after them, nobody's actually coming to deport them. They're going to do a few shock and awe campaigns in Los Angeles and Chicago and DC and get in front of the cameras, get on the TV, make everybody think they're doing something when in reality they're not doing anything. Why on earth would 4 times the number of illegals self-deport than have actually been deported since Trump took office? So just another aspect of this government and this entire regime that's fake.
Yeah, just embarrassing. Why don't you send the military that you're deploying onto the streets of DC? Instead of doing that, why don't you have them sweeping our country and rounding these people up and putting them on boats, trains, planes? I don't give a damn how they get out of here. Just get them the hell out and disallow them from returning. And if they try to force their way back in, you shoot them. That's what you have a military for. You have a military to prevent physical invasions of your country. And that's what's occurring here. Get them out. And by the way, considering the powder keg that the world has become thanks to Israel, thanks to none other than Israel, Israel's at the center of every single one of these conflicts, every single one of these wars. That's where all of it comes from, is from Israel. And since Israel wants to turn this entire planet into a ticking time bomb, how about you get the hell out of every region of the world that we're in? How about you bring 100% of our deployed military that's abroad back here to the homeland, back here to America within our borders, protect our borders, shut them down in these war times where our national security is plainly implicated, and then take your leftover personnel, send them home for a while, meet up with the family. You know, spend some time. You've been over in Poland, you know, viewing Auschwitz. Yeah, spend some time with your family. And then I've got all the personnel. I've got all the financial resources in the budget. I've got everything that I need, all of the infrastructure, all of the weaponry, all of the vehicles, all of the personnel that I need to sweep through this country. And in a matter of just probably 30 days, I could have every single illegal out of this country. Every single one of these terror cells that has been deployed deep into the interior of our country with weapons caches and dirty bombs, ready to pull off false flags. Why don't they want them out of here? Because they're grooming them to pull off things like Tyler Robinson. They're grooming them to pull off things like Timothy McVeigh and Oklahoma City bombings and Columbine shootings and all of these other things that we're witnessing. They're MK4 Ultra mind controlling these people, and they're all ticking time bombs. They need that here. They need the chaos for the ushering in of the surveillance state, the deployment of Palantir, along with Gideon, the predictive policing, the red flag laws, all of these things that your government is doing to you. Nobody else. Your fake, illegitimate, pedophilic, occupied government is doing all of this to you. Frankie Stocks, the Based Report. You can find him on X as well, at Real Stocks. Make sure that you give him a follow. If you have anything that you want him to cover, I'm sure that he'll take a look at any of these stories. These are the stories that nobody's looking into, and that's what makes the Based Report so based. You can email him, frankie@stewpeters.com. Make sure that you give him a follow again, at Real Stocks. More of the Stu Peters Show continues next. We'll be here after the break, will you?
Yo, America, tired of the same old fizz? Say hello to Sensi Pop, the soda that slaps harder than a summer storm. Every can's loaded with 20 milligrams of naturally occurring THC, delivering a buzz that's smoother than a back road cruise and bolder than a dive bar jukebox. This ain't your grandpa's soda pop. This is Sensi Pop, the American classic remixed for the modern vibe. From cornfields to concrete, Sensi Pop's got that spark to light up your night. Crack it, sip it, feel the pop. Sensi Pop, get ready to feel the fizz. Explore your vibes at AmericanHempHub.com.
Stress, anxiety, feeling out of alignment? You don't have to live this way. At Ezra Healing, we guide you back into balance with our new health paradigm. Personalized options and soul-centered practices. It's not about quick fixes. It's about true transformation.
Our philosophy is do no harm, model of care, and we are really focusing on people with vaccine injuries. Our mission is to help people understand what cancers are and bring solutions and relieve pain and suffering.
No waiting rooms. No gaslighting.
The ivermectin is a moment in time in your life to get rid of parasites. And if you're struggling with cancer, we get rid of cancer. If we have a vaccine injury, we're going to alleviate that. But the goal is to, eliminate, anything, foreign in your body. So we use these supplements, these medications for a point in time in our life, eliminating anything that lowers your vibe.